The final point under the discussion of technical analysis is what is known as a stop loss. Many technical analysts find it a lot easier to buy a share than to sell one. When you consider that there's some 900 odd shares to choose from, buying a share is a case of selecting the right share. Once you've bought into that share, selling the share is a very different matter because you can only sell the shares that you already have. For that reason, a lot of technical analysts will use the stop loss approach to the sale of a share, which works something like this. Let's assume that at the time you buy the share, it's priced at 10 rands. Now remember that you buying a share from somebody else who's selling it, your viewpoint is that the share price is rising and will go ahead, that's why you're buying it. The seller is selling the share because he or she believes that the share price will drop. You have opposite viewpoints. Now, in the event that you are right, that means that the share price will move up. You've obviously confirmed your decision has been a valid one and taken advantage of a share that is rising. Now, the stop loss means that at the point you buy the share, at the time that you are your most optimistic, you should ask yourself the question, what percentage of our investment am I prepared to lose? What percentage am I prepared to lose? If the answer to that question is I'm prepared to lose 10%, then you should set yourself a 10% stop loss. This means that if when you buy the share it goes down, you will not be prepared to tolerate any drop in price below 10% of its existing level. In other words, you will sell that share 10% below what you paid for it. You will sell it at 9 rand. This will therefore minimize the amount that you lose on having made an incorrect decision. However, if the share price rises as you had hoped, and it goes up from 10 rand to 15 rand, that doesn't mean to say that your stop loss remains down there at 9 rand. Your stop loss moves up with the share, always trailing behind by 10%. So at the 15 rand level, your stop loss is 10% below 15 rand. In other words, you are prepared to lose no more than 1 rand 50 off the existing level. So your stop loss would be at 13 rand 50 cents. 1 rand 50 or 10% below the existing level. Therefore, you are protecting the profits that you've made, or part of the profits that you've made so far. You've made 3 rand 50 because at no point will you prepare to sell the share at anything less than 13 rand 50. If the share does come off and cuts down through that level, that automatically therefore becomes a sell, and you will have made your profits based upon the performance thus far. This simply means that you don't see profits that you've made being frittered away by a market that turns against you. If you use this very sound principle in your gambling activities, for example at Sun City, you'll find that it will work in your favor as well. How often isn't it that you go to Sun City, put a couple of coins in the machine, have a wonderful first hour, and then of course it's not time to go home yet, so you hang in there. By the time the evening ends, you've lost all your profits and more. This is a simple common sense protection system that says I'm only prepared to lose a fixed percentage of whatever profits I've made thus far. It's a protection mechanism like getting into a motor car, putting your seatbelt on. It makes absolute sense. And for many investors, to buy a share on a moving average and to sell it against a stop loss is a very sound technical strategy. In order for us to conclude this program, it's necessary for me to leave you with an indication of a strategic approach to your investments on the stock market, so that you've got a very clear indication as to how to go about making money from shares. We've discussed thus far 2 broad streams of analysis. Fundamental analysis, which searches for the real value of the share. Technical analysis, which acknowledges only the perceived value of the share. And you may have noted that during these 2 presentations, these 2 approaches take very different angles on the stock market. And in fact, rather than thinking about these as being contradictory, we should think about them as being complementary. Because fundamental analysis specializes in the question of what share should we buy. Looking at the management of the company, looking at its past profitabilities, looking at its balance sheet over a period of time, looking at its earnings yield, price-earnings ratio, tells us more about the company, tells us whether this is a prospect that we should want to pursue or not. In other words, it specializes in the question, what share to buy. But there's another dimension to purchasing shares, and that is that we also need to time the purchase so that we are buying at the right time. And as we've seen from the tools that we've looked at under technical analysis, that this area of analysis specializes in when to buy the share. And if you consider that a good share investment is buying the right share at the right time, this means that we should use both of these techniques in order to determine that we're buying the right share and we're buying it at the right time. I hope that you found the course useful and that you've gained skills, real skills that you can apply immediately into the stock market, and that this is your first step to share investments, the first step in a very illustrious and profitable time ahead.